Spend enough time advocating for the rights of animals on this planet and you will be met with the accusation that Hitler was vegan. Now, even if we were to assume this was true, you have to ask, what even is the intent behind this statement when presented to vegans? In my opinion, shouting Hitler was vegan whenever vegans present arguments for animal rights is often a sign of cognitive dissonance among people who are ultimately saying, out of sheer defensiveness, evil people do veganism. Therefore, you're not superior to me and it isn't a thing moral people do. This is a basic guilt by association fallacy that serves merely to shoot the messenger and undermine the vegan message. It's also, of course, extremely inconsistent and self-defeating for non-vegans who use it, given that even if we were to grant that Hitler was vegan, he would be in the absolute minority of evil people throughout history who were. So if we base the validity of veganism or carnism on how many evil people adhered to it, veganism comes out the clear moral winner in that way alone. But is it even true that Hitler was vegan? Or, well, even vegetarian? Let's see where this belief stems from. Around the time of the Second World War, it's said that Hitler started to omit animal flesh from his diet and identify as vegetarian. There was no word for vegan at the time, as the term was coined in 1944 in the UK, just as the war was about to end. The vegetarian public image that Hitler maintained caused Hitler to be seen by those living in Nazi Germany as a peaceful and benevolent man, comparable to Gandhi, a vegetarian who led peaceful and non-violent resistance against British rule of India at the time, now looked back on with fondness and adoration. Whether it's true or not that Hitler eschewed animal flesh from his diet, one thing we can be very sure of is that it certainly wasn't for ethical reasons. The following information I'm about to tell you largely comes from the book Eternal Treblinka, Our Treatment of Animals and the Holocaust by Charles Patterson, which lists numerous sources for the claims. Contrary to widely believed propaganda put out by the Nazis around the time of the war, mostly from its propaganda minister, Joseph Goebbels, Hitler mandated a cruel and brutal regime towards non-human animals, just as he did humans. To say that the Nazi leaders had the same mindset towards animals as vegans do, when we look at just the basic historical facts, is an absolutely wild and absurd claim. Farmed animals were seized by the Nazis from all the countries they invaded to murder and eat for themselves. There were animal slaughterhouses at every concentration camp, and the Nazi uniform was heavily laden with wool and leather. In fact, even the German soldiers' water bottles used wool as an insulator, so frequent was the use of animal products in Nazi apparel. Animals were also thrust into battle by the German army, who, like all other nations, exploited and endangered horses and dogs by using them on the battlefield. The concentration camp Treblinka even had its own zoo. Any vegan soldier who'd have stood against these pro-carnist actions or refused to wear these things for ethical reasons would likely have faced brutal repercussions in Nazi Germany. So what of Hitler himself then? What do we know about him and his own views on animals? Well, if the aforementioned things mandated by the Nazi leaders were not enough to tell you what he truly believed, despite Goebbels' peaceful man propaganda, we can take the accounts of those who knew him. According to one of the chefs at a hotel Hitler used to frequent, Dion Lucas, Hitler's favourite dish was stuffed squab, that is baby pigeon. His personal chef, Willy Kannenberg, noted that Hitler loved sausages and caviar and allegedly devoured cream cakes in enormous quantities. Hitler's mindset was dominated by the might makes right mantra, and he was obsessed with the natural order and the idea that the strong have the right to dominate the weak. He made it a strong part of Nazi ideology that young German boys must be aggressive and lusting for violence, stating, "The light of the free, marvellous beast of prey must once again shine from their eyes." He also claimed, "He who does not possess power loses the right to life." Hitler's hatred for animal rights and love for the natural order was so prevalent that when he came to power in 1933, Hitler banned all vegetarian societies from the country. Remember, vegans were lumped in with vegetarians at the time because there was no word for vegan. Arrested their leaders and shut down the main vegetarian society magazine based in Frankfurt. Ultimately, Hitler saw kindness to animals as a dangerous rejection of the status quo and an affront to fascism, so he naturally saw anyone who eliminated animal products from their life as a threat to his ideology. So it appears very clear then that Hitler was not vegan, and was not even vegetarian, at least for ethical reasons. There are accounts stating that Hitler was not fond of various meat dishes, though this was likely for taste preference or health reasons. Even if it is allegedly true that Nazi Germany introduced certain animal welfare laws that seemed advanced at the time, this, along with the idea that Hitler was some kind of animal advocate and peaceful vegetarian, was all part of Hitler and the National Socialist Party's carefully curated image invented by Joseph Goebbels that is still alive and well today. Essentially, those lumping in vegans and animal advocacy with Nazism are merely recycling old Nazi propaganda put out there to mislead the world that the Nazis were the good guys and cared deeply about animal rights, just like Gandhi. Goebbels and co likely exploited Hitler's temporary stint from meat dishes, if that did even happen, to further push and solidify this message, making it an astonishingly effective piece of propaganda that has lasted through the ages. The Nazis were among the most skilled propagandists of all time. After all, they had to brainwash and inspire an entire nation of people to support ideologies that run counter to their core values, much like the meat industry, in fact. And the Nazi German history of violent oppression and mass murder is a great stain on German and Austrian history to this day, with such lies that the men leading Nazi Germany into this awful war were just good guys who loved animals and wanted the best for the world, being instrumental in brainwashing the masses. And let's say I'm wrong about all this and it was indeed true that Hitler was an ethical vegan, as many anti-vegans posit. Well, I'll leave those of you who want to slam dunk on vegans for this with this epic quote by old school vegan YouTuber Richie Fruitbat by asking, if it was indeed true that Hitler was vegan, how does it feel to know that the most evil man in history was kinder to animals than you are?
Hitler was bad! Hitler was bad! Hitler was bad! Suck my fucking dick!